Here we're going to look at question 72 from the IMAT 2012 paper. So in this question we're given a selection of statements and asked which of these statements about paraffin wax at melting point is correct, with these three statements given. So if you'd like to have a go at this question yourself, then please just pause the video now, otherwise we'll have a go at it together. So to answer this sort of question, let's do what we always do and let's work through the statements one by one. So this first statement states that the paraffin wax at melting point becomes more disordered. So what's this talking about? Well, paraffin wax at melting point is obviously getting hotter when it's a solid to the point where it's going to become a liquid. So what's actually happening is that this temperature change, this increase of heat, is actually energy being put into our paraffin wax, and this energy being used to break the bonds between our molecules. And so these molecules are losing their fine structure, their set structure, and they're becoming more disordered. They're being able to move more freely. So this statement is indeed true. We can now move on to our second statement, which is that the paraffin wax takes in heat, but its temperature stays the same at melting point. Now this part of the question might initially look false to some people, but actually there is a topic which you might not necessarily have heard of, and that is specific latent heat, which is given by L in this equation here, Q equals mL, where M is the mass of the paraffin wax in this case, and Q is the energy being put into it. With this specific latent heat, basically, being the amount of energy which is required, or which needs to be put into a material at its same melting point to convert it into a different state, so to change it from solid to liquid. So this is actually an amount of energy which needs to be put in at this melting point, and it doesn't change the temperature at all, it just breaks down the bonds between molecules. So this is actually exactly what this means, that the wax takes in heat, it takes in energy, but its temperature stays the same. Instead, this energy is just being used to break down the bonds between molecules, so this statement is also true. Finally then, let's move on to our third statement, that the bonds between the carbon and hydrogen atoms are broken. So the carbon and hydrogen atoms are obviously part of the structure of the paraffin wax. So what it's saying is that the heat is being put into this paraffin wax and it's breaking down bonds between carbon and hydrogen, and the atoms here, not the molecules. However, we already know, since we just spoke about it earlier, that the bonds being broken down are between the molecules, not the atoms. If we were breaking down the bonds between the atoms, then we'd be separating the paraffin wax into carbon and hydrogen respectively, a solid carbon and hydrogen, which is very much not what's happening. That would be a much higher energy reaction. So this final statement is going to be false. Therefore then, if our first two statements are true and our final one is going to be false, then this is just going to correspond to answer E given in the question.